I bet. Just a minute. It lives, I see. Do you want to speak with Lolita? I'm sorry, but Gabriel is out. Oh, I mean, he's out. Yeah, if he ever comes back, I'll tell him. You know, you could do better. I know I don't know you, but you could do better. Sure. Bye-bye. Good morning. The phone's been ringing off the hook all morning. Let me know when you want your messages.
Yeah.
Gee, you're lively. Did you have another nightmare last night?
Sort of.
I told you it's that voodoo book you're researching. That stuff can seriously screw up your karma.
I'm sure that's it. Maybe I should write a horror novel on passive resistance instead.
So don't sleep. It's your body. Anyway, your handheld tape recorder came today.
Really? Great.
I can't wait to see what human rights you violate with this one.
I can't wait to violate them. For example, if you would just let me...
And I located some local voodoo references for you. Dixieland Drugstore and the Historical Museum of Voodoo. Both are right here in French Quarter.
How would I ever manage without you?
You? Give me a break. The devil himself couldn't change you.
Well, if the devil had great legs, perhaps. Like yours.
And a riveting personality, I'm sure. Well, if you need any more research done, just ask. It's not as though we're swamped with customers.
St. George Books could use some serious renovation, but Gabriel likes to think that the place has character. There's no one in that part of the shop to talk to. The chandelier is original. Gabriel finds it charming. All right. He can't afford to replace it. Gabriel plans to turn the balcony into a schmaltzy cafe, if he ever gets the cash. The balcony floor needs work and is unsafe. The windows of St. George Books overlook Bourbon Street. The windows are sealed shut with old paint. Those windows aren't going anywhere. The books on that top shelf include mysteries and other pulp novels from the 50s and 60s. The books cannot be operated. Grace would have a fit if Gabriel rearranged the books. Gabriel's life is a pulp novel. He doesn't need to read one. The bookshelves don't open. You've been watching too many old horror movies. The table provides a comfort center for customers' coffee, today's paper, and the most recent best-selling paperback. Unfortunately, few customers come in to enjoy it. Blessed caffeine. The coffee has already been made. The coffee pot would get cold anywhere else. Talk to the coffee? Even Gabriel isn't that addicted.
My kidney's already floating, thanks.
The books on the table have been chosen for their special appeal. Recent fiction by the biggies. In other words, nothing written by Gabriel. Gabriel finds those popular authors very mediocre. As though they would care. Gabriel's not interested in opening the books on the table. Today's newspaper is on the counter. Times-Picayune, dated June 18, 1993. The front page has an article about the Voodoo murders. The article says that the victims are all identified as members of the underworld. The general public of New Orleans is in no danger. Police claim the so-called voodoo trappings found at the crime scenes are fake, a scare tactic, and that the murders are not associated with any genuine practitioners. Gabriel also scans the Aquarius horoscope for the day. Potential storms ahead. Proceed with caution and do not get involved with anything new at this time.
Right.
The magnifying glass is a handy item for reading old manuscripts or the fine print on Gabriel's lease.
Mind if I borrow the magnifying glass?
No, Sherlock. Just bring it back when we get the next estate shipment.
No problem.
There's a pair of tweezers on the counter. Grace uses them for book repair work. Gabriel could move the tweezers round on the desk, but it would be rather pointless.
I'm going to take the tweezers for a bit.
Good. You're beginning to look a little scruffy.
Just trying to make you feel at home.
The book rack contains cookbooks, true crime, and puzzle books. An inspired combination. That old rack is so rusty it would fall apart if anyone even touched it. Fortunately, there is no danger of that. Gabriel isn't interested in the books on the rack. The book rack doesn't open. Old medical reference texts are stored on an upper shelf. Real old. The old medical reference books are useless to Gabriel, and apparently to his customers. Cute gargoyle, eh? The gargoyle has no function but sheer ugliness. Not unlike... oh, never mind. The gargoyle is heavier than it looks.
Life is too short to talk to ugly statues.
You'd never know it by the woman you date.
The ladder provides access to the uppermost shelves of the bookcase.
If you try to look down my shirt one more time, I'm leaving.
Hell, just trying to refresh my memory.
I know what you're trying to refresh, and it isn't your memory. Get down.
That shelf holds used copies of the Dime Strife series, secrets of unsolved ancient UFO mysteries and such. They just leap out the door. Gabriel's had all those books in the bathroom and doesn't care to read them again. That shelf contains historical references, biographies of kings and queens, that sort of thing. The history books on that shelf don't interest Gabriel at the moment. The top shelf contains a set of German books that once belonged to Gabriel's grandfather. Gabriel selects a volume of German poetry that he always found strangely compelling.
Drei Drachen. Drei Drachen kriechen in meinen Schlaf. Die Ziele wollen sie lebendig zum Fraß. Feurigen Atems, gespaltener Zunge, genießen sie jedes Mal.
That's nice. Kinda creepy, though. Who's the author?
Heinz Ritter. I'm not sure what it says, but I get the feeling the guy was one sick puppy.
Under the window are reference books, dictionaries, foreign language dictionaries, quotation books, and others. Gabriel borrows them often when he's writing. Gabriel leafs through a German-English dictionary.
Let's see, Mittag means midday, noon.
Gabriel leafs through a German-English dictionary.
Spiel means game. Interesting. Himmel means heaven. Uh-huh. Dry means 3. Besessen means possessed. That's handy to know. Drachen means dragons. I wonder if Mosley would know he was being insulted if I called him Drachenbreath.
The old desk is one Gabriel's picked up near a dumpster. Not too shabby, eh? Well, okay, maybe it is. The desk is too heavy to be moved. The desk drawers mostly stick. Gabriel doesn't even want to know what Grace keeps in those drawers. Gabriel looks at the cash register, checking for cobwebs. Wishful thinking. Gabriel would love to move his cash register to Nordstrom's. The cash register is silent. As usual. It's certainly light enough, but rather useless, as Gabriel well knows. Gabriel opens the cash register to examine the take, or in the case of St. George Books, the mistake. The cash register contains about $20 in small bills and change. Gabriel's financial structure is fragile enough without playing with the money. Shifting the money around to make it look like there's more won't help.
Gabriel, that's all the change money I have. Touch it, and you could kiss your hand goodbye.
Would I do that to you?
The top of the desk is Grace's private domain. It's an ashtray. Gabriel doesn't need the ashtray. Grace likes the little banker's lamp. She has the soul of an accountant. The lamp is as on as it's going to get, and there is no sense in turning it off. The lamp is fine where it is. Really, taking Grace's lamp is not necessary. The books on the desk all need repair work. Gabriel stopped talking to the books once Grace came to work here. Gabriel does not want to work on the damaged books right now. 3 snakes in a skull. Gabriel's father painted it.
What a wacky offbeat kind of guy Daddy was.
Gabriel likes the painting where it is. Gabriel can't lug the painting round. Nope. No safe full of money back there. Grace keeps her art supplies here. Gabriel wouldn't dare touch Grace's oil paints. The curtain doesn't provide much privacy, but Gabriel's rarely in his bedroom during shop hours anyway. If Gabriel took that down, the customers have to look at his messy studio. Grace's chair. Gabriel had occasion to envy it.
Real funny, Knight.
Don't mind if I do.
Do what?
Oh, nothing. If wishes were ponies. Move that wall of ice? Good luck. Like I haven't tried. I don't even want to think about what you mean. So, what's new, Grace?
Your use of mathematics, for one thing. These books are unbelievable.
What can I say? I refuse to be bound by rules.
The strap marks on your bedpost speak otherwise.
Did I ever tell you that you're actually quite attractive?
Be still, my heart.
Had any customers lately?
No, but I'm sure you have.
You know, you really should get out more.
But then who'd take care of St. George's?
Or me.
Exactly.
Oh, done anything interesting lately?
By your definition? No. I prefer it that way.
Keeping busy?
Not really. If you need any research done, let me know.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Do you have messages for me?
Dana called, and Susie left a message about a lawsuit.
Toss 'em.
Okie dokie. There's more when you want 'em.
Do you have more messages for me?
Your grandmother called.
I keep meaning to get over there. What did she say? Did she sound good?
She sounded great, and we had a nice little chat about you.
Grace.
Don't worry. I didn't go into detail about your cardinal sins. Not that anything about you could surprise her. She adores you anyway.
She's my girl.
But she said to remind you to stop by and go through your father's things.
Okay. Do you have more messages for me?
Here's a strange one. You got a call from someone named Wolfgang Ritter. He said he was calling from Germany. He told me it was urgent, maybe you should give him a call.
Call Germany? Like hell. If it's really important, he'll call back.
Well, fine. Let's just hope he's not with the German lottery for pitiful American authors.
Do you have more messages for me?
Your friend Detective Mosley called. Talkative, isn't he?
Especially with you. What do you want?
He left an interesting message. He told me to tell you that his mother's maiden name is Humphrey. Oh, that's Humprey.
Fascinating.
And that he left some photos for you at the station, at the front desk.
It's about time.
Gabriel, those photos wouldn't have anything to do with the Voodoo murders, would they?
Now, why would you say something like that?
Because I know you. You're getting privileged information, aren't you? Did you tell him you'd put him in your new Voodoo book?
A writer has certain obligation to his readers, you know.
Gabriel, you know you'll never put him in your book. Your main character is a female orthodontist. You're gonna be reincarnated as a pit bull if you keep screwing with your karma.
As long as it's a male pit bull with a really big...
That's enough. Thanks. Anyway, that's all the messages. Thank God.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
I didn't know much of anything about it until you started researching it for your book. Now I know that it's active in the city. There's that shop and museum. It can clearly be dangerous in the wrong hands. You should be careful investigating it.
What do you know about the Voodoo murders?
Just what I read in the paper, same as you.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
Well, I've only been here 2 months, but I love it. It's so much more alive than any place I've been. It feels like anything's possible here.
Tell me about yourself, Grace.
Yeah, right, Knight.
I mean it.
What do you want to know?
How come we haven't gone out yet?
I'm still waiting around for that lobotomy. As soon as I get it, I'll let you know.
How do you like working at St. George's Books?
Well, it's not exactly a huge intellectual challenge. Although the math in your record books could confuse Einstein. Still, I love old books, and it's a nice way to pay the bills while I explore the city for a summer. If you ever pay me, that is.
What do you do after work?
Well, I either go to my oil painting class or my Tai Chi. You know that.
You know, you can go overboard with this improving yourself stuff. You don't want to alienate us mere mortals.
I suppose I should just allow my mind and body to atrophy.
Works for me. How old are you?
Old enough to know about men like you.
Just tell me anything at all.
I just got my master's in history and classics. My folks wanted me to go on right away for my PhD, but 18 years of school was enough. I needed a break.
Just tell me anything at all.
I came to New Orleans because I'd read so much about it, and I thought, spending a few months here would clear my head.
Just tell me anything at all.
I've always wanted to do something really adventurous, Something real life. I'm sick of libraries and lecture halls.
Just tell me anything at all.
My folks are traditional Japanese. I don't even remember Japan myself. I was 3 when we came to the States.
Just tell me anything at all.
I've been studying Tai Chi for 10 years. It's a very spiritual discipline. I'm sure discipline of any sort isn't something that would appeal to you, Gabriel.
Just tell me anything at all.
My folks want me to get married to a boy back east, Mark Kobayashi. His parents are traditional Japanese too. I might eventually, but right now...
Nothing, I guess. Never mind.
Suit yourself.
The tweezers from the bookshop are an old stainless steel pair that Gabriel's had forever.
Do you know anything about this?
They're called tweezers? You should get out more.
Don't get personal.
The magnifying glass is an expensive one with an inlaid jade handle, an heirloom from Gabriel's grandfather.
Do you know anything about this?
What, the magnifying glass? It makes things look big. Out to impress a girl, are you?
I hope you're insulting the size of my brain.
That goes without saying.
There's nothing on my body that would require the use of a magnifying glass.
The welcome mat is well worn. Unfortunately, that's only because Gabriel picked it up second-hand, not because of a stampede of customers. Gabriel's shoes aren't muddy, thanks. The welcome mat may not be all that successful, but moving it won't help. Gabriel doesn't need the welcome mat. There could be a secret passage under the doormat, but we didn't have time. The shop's mascot is an old knight-shaped coat rack. The only way to use the coat rack is by putting a coat on it. Well, there may be other ways, but it's a bit heavy to lug into the bedroom. The coat racks made a dent in the floor. If Gabriel moved it now, he'd have to fix the linoleum. Grace's coat is a simple but classic trench coat. Gabriel hates people with good taste.
Leave my coat alone, Gabriel.
Grace's coat is even less of a conversationalist than Grace herself. Dramatic, isn't it? Gabriel didn't eat for 3 weeks after splurging on that coat. He has a thing for black leather. It's a bit warm in here. Gabriel decides to wait until he leaves to put on his coat. Handsome, isn't he?
I'm doing the best I can.
Move, Gabriel. Try to walk, icon.
Hey, I'll ask the questions around here. Don't ask me, I'm even less informed than you. You've already got me, you lucky devil. If I want to open up, I'll go to a shrink.
The front door leads to Bourbon Street.
I've got some things I need to do.
Good luck.
Gabriel, I'm so glad you stopped by.
Sorry it's been a while, Grandma.
Not at all. Give us a kiss. Now come and sit down. Tell me how you're doing.
Gabriel grew up in this room. Just being here make him feel safe. And after about 5 minutes, claustrophobic. Grandmother Knight has always been most particular about the arrangement of the house. Granny might get worried if Gabriel started rambling to thin air. On the wall are portraits of Gran and Gramps when they were young. Gabriel's inherited some good-looking genes. Gabriel doesn't want to take any of Granny's things. Granny likes soft lighting. Granny likes the lamps lit. Granny's knitting. She whips through that stuff like there was no tomorrow. Gabriel doesn't knit. Okay. So Gran did teach him once, but he hasn't done it in years. Gabriel doesn't want to disturb Granny's knitting basket. Steal Granny's knitting? How low can you get? Granny has a way with plants and kids. That ficus tree would be real helpful. Right. Grandmother Knight rarely uses the fireplace these days. Too much of a hassle to clean. Gabriel doesn't need to mess with the fireplace. The wood in the bin is southern pine. and is probably fossilized by now. Gabriel doesn't need any wood. Mostly pictures of Gabriel, his dad, and Harrison Knight. Gabriel's sentimental enough without dragging those photos into it. Fresh carnations, Granny's favorite. That clock has been in the Wright family, Granny's family, for centuries. Granny doesn't like anyone messing with her clock, including Gabriel. The magazines in the bin includes issues of Southern Living, Ladies' Home Journal, and Macal's. The magazine bin contains nothing that interests Gabriel. Granny's side chair still has that annoying loose spring in the seat. The sofa has a worn blue chintz pattern that Gabriel remembers fondly. Gabriel doesn't want to crowd Granny. He prefers the chair. There's nothing inside the sofa but stuffing.
That's my Gran, adorable as always.
You're such a tease.
Hey, that's my Gran. Show some respect. How you been, Gran?
Just fine, dear. I'm sorry I bothered you at work, but I was hoping you'd get a chance to go through your father's things in the attic.
Don't be silly, you can call me anytime. You're looking well, Gran.
Thanks, dear.
Is there anything you need?
Me? Oh, no. I'm just fine, Gabriel. I have more than enough of everything.
Are you okay, Gran?
I'm right as rain, boy.
Can we talk, Gran?
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
You know, you get prettier every time I see you.
Oh, you.
Have you baked any of your incredible molasses pies lately?
No, dear. But you let me know when you want some, and I'll whip up half a dozen.
You've lost weight. Are you courting a new man?
Oh, Gabriel, don't be silly. You know there'll never be anyone but your granddad for me.
Your hair looks very pretty today, Gran.
Oh, why, thank you, dear. So does, you've always had such nice, thick hair, Gabriel.
You know, I always tell people that my Gran is the prettiest grand old belle in the city.
Oh, dear, you shouldn't talk so.
Tell me about yourself.
Me? Oh, surely you have something more interesting to talk about.
Oh, come on, Gran.
All right, dear. What do you want to hear?
How you feeling these days?
Fit as a fiddle, and don't you worry your head about it.
What do you do all day?
You know how I love to knit and work in my garden. I also take long walks. It's the only way to keep an old body like mine from stiffening up.
You're not old.
Oh, don't be foolish. I'm older than the hills.
Tell me about before you met Granddaddy.
Well, you know I was born Rebecca Wright. My daddy owned a lot of land outside of town. We grew peas, corn, cotton, all kinds of things. It was a good childhood, but my father was very strict. He didn't much let me out of his sight.
Tell me how you met Granddaddy.
I met Harrison at a church revival. There was a traveling preacher back then, a big fella named Reverend Jim. I even remember his slogan, "Come to me to find your way." Your granddad was sitting right behind me and my girlfriend Alma, and at one point, old Reverend Jim was flinging his hair around with his fire and brimstone antics, and a piece of it, one of those small add-on doos for man, went flying off. I swear, Harrison and I were the only ones that noticed. We both started laughing to beat the band. Everyone looked at us like we were a couple of loonies. It was then I knew that he was for me.
Just tell me anything at all.
I had your father when I was 22. The doctors told me I couldn't have any more after him, so I'm afraid I spoiled him rotten.
Just tell me anything at all.
I never loved any man but your grandfather, and I never will.
Just tell me anything at all.
I hate to admit it, but I was a jealous little thing when your granddad and I were younger. I loved him so ferociously, and he did attract the eyes of the ladies, whether he wanted to or not.
Just tell me anything at all.
I get lonely sometimes, but I have lots of girlfriends in the neighborhood. I call one of them if I'm feeling blue.
Just tell me anything at all.
I wish you'd settle down and give me a great-grandchild.
Oh, Gran. Oh, nothing, never mind.
All right, dear.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
New Orleans is very southern. Of course, though, not as much as it used to be when I was a girl. It's gotten much more influenced by the East Coast and that California stuff. Still, it hasn't changed as much as other places, I reckon. We've always been happy here.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
My goodness, boy. You've lived here all your life just like me. I can't tell you much that you don't already know.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Voodoo? What an odd question, Gabriel. Of course, you always were interested in monster movies and all that other weird stuff. You get that from your father and granddad. I don't know anything about it, dear. Of course, it was very big in New Orleans at one time, but you don't hear about it so much these days. Too much else in the world to worry about, I guess.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
I don't know what else to tell you, dear.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
Oh, Gabriel, nothing. And I don't want to. I sometimes wonder what this world is coming to.
The stairs lead up to the attic. To use the stairs, Gabriel has only to walk on them.
I'm going to go up to the attic, Gran.
Be careful of the dust.
Grandma's attic is a storehouse of forgotten treasures and useless junk. Gabriel's not quite up to rearranging the attic.
Anybody here? Guess not.
These old picture frames have been up here for years.
I think I'll leave that up here. That must have been the year Granddaddy caught Santa on the roof.
Gabriel has seen these ornaments every year at Christmas for as long as he can remember. It's a lady's hat from the 1920s.
From Gran's Virginia Woolf period. No. No thanks.
That tennis racket probably hasn't served a ball since the 40s.
I'm not the tennis court type.
It's an old metal tub full of dust and cobwebs.
It's Granddaddy's old golf bag. Golf was never my game. I'm not sure what my game was, but it wasn't golf.
It's an old dress dummy that Gran had in her sewing room years ago.
My first impression of the female form. Do I really look that desperate?
A skylight lets welcome sunlight into the attic. Letting light in is all it does. The skylight doesn't open. The old velvet curtains hung in the parlor before Gran lightened up the place. The brass bed frame is from God knows where. It's one of Grandma's old parlor tables. That box of knickknacks has been up there for at least 5 years.
There's nothing I want in there.
There's a sketchbook on the chair that Gabriel vaguely remembers as his father's. It might be better to pick it up first.
I think I'd take Daddy's sketchbook with me.
Gabriel looks fondly at his father's sketchbook and charcoal pencil. Images haunt the pages of Philip Knight's sketchbook, the way they must have haunted his mind. The images touch a deep chord in Gabriel. So familiar are they that he finds it hard to believe they aren't from his own subconscious. Gabriel isn't the artist his father was. He can sketch specific things, but isn't inspired to just draw for the fun of it. The old trunk looks like it's gone to hell and back.
It looks pretty heavy.
The lid is blocked by the clock. An elaborate mechanical clock, probably of German origin, is among the discarded treasures of the attic. It doesn't seem to be running at the moment. The trunk contains some old clothes, including a pair of leather shorts.
Aren't those called lederhosen?
Serious hiking boots, more of Harrison Knight German book.
Just what I need.
And a bundle of letters. Love letters between Harrison and Rebecca. The trunk contains lederhosen, hiking boots, German books, and a bundle of Granddad and Gran's love letters.
That's it. Take a load off, hon.
Does this mean anything to you, Gran?
I believe that was your father's, Gabriel. You keep it.
Can we talk, Gran?
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
Tell me about our family.
Who would you like to hear about? Your granddad, your father, or your mother?
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad immigrated to America when he was 21. He worked his way through school, met and married me, and we had your father, Philip.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad supported me and your father with bookkeeping. I'll tell you what, though, he hated every minute of it. Didn't really like bookkeeping one bit. Maybe that was why he had the worst luck with jobs. The nights he'd come home afraid to tell me he'd lost another. And I would tell him. It didn't matter to me. But he felt ashamed, Gabriel.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Harrison was only 36 when he died. Your father was 8 years old at the time. Your granddad was hit by a streetcar in the business district. Took me nearly a year to believe he was really gone.
I'm sorry, Gran.
I know you are, dear.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Did you know that your granddad was a poet? He was! He wrote the most beautiful poetry for me when we were courting. I always thought he should have done something with that gift. But he was such a practical man. Didn't believe in chasing after dreams.
Tell me about my father.
Your father was my only child. How we adored him. Philip suffered from terrible nightmares, just like your granddad did. They were 2 peas in a pod.
Tell me about my father.
When Philip met your mother, it was love at first sight. They were married 2 weeks later. Never looked at a girl seriously until then, and he looked at plenty. You have your father's way with women, Gabriel, and your granddad's.
Tell me about my father.
I wanted to just lay down and die when he and your mother were killed in that car crash when you were only 8. It was the thought of taking care of you that kept me going, Gabriel. The police say your father swerved off the road after being frightened by something. Perhaps a deer in the road or a wild cat.
Tell me about my father.
Your granddad wanted Philip to have a normal life. He was obsessed by that thought. He pushed Philip to go to law school, but Philip was driven to art. He painted almost in a daze. He would get so inside himself when he worked.
Tell me about my father.
He always hated it that it was Margaret's money that supported the 3 of you when his painting couldn't. I kept telling him, try something more cheerful, like a landscape or 2. But he couldn't do it. His work was just too dark and disturbing for the public, you know.
Tell me about my mother.
Your mother was Margaret Templeton when your father met her. She came from a very wealthy Creole family in New Orleans. She was beautiful and reckless. She was madly in love with your father, of course, but I also think she liked defying her family. Since you're so interested in family history these days, why don't you go by St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 and visit the family tomb? It would be a sweet gesture.
Maybe I will. Tell me about my mother.
Your mother's family refused to give her money after the marriage. All she had left was a modest trust fund from a great-aunt, who happened to like Philip. The remainder of your mother's trust fund became yours when she died. That's what you used to open your bookshop.
Tell me about my mother.
The Templetons are all gone now. Every last one of them. They never wanted anything to do with us, of course. What a waste.
The double doors lead to Granny's front lawn.
Well, Gran, I better get going.
All right, dear.
Hi. Look around all you want.
Okay, thanks.
The historical Voodoo Museum is brimming with items authentic and original. A balcony surrounds the room on the 2nd level. It's closed to the public. The balcony is closed to the public. The window overlooked Chartres Street. The dust from the street would be hell to get off the display. A street drummer has settled outside the museum. Gabriel can't do a thing with a drummer on the street.
Damn. I've always wanted a skeleton with a bowl on its head.
That display doesn't have any mechanical function.
They might not like it if I move the displays.
Gabriel cannot interrogate that. Talking to that would be unenlightening. That display doesn't open. Even if that were for sale, Gabriel couldn't afford it.
Reminds me of a book critic for the New York Times.
A leather whip hung from the peg on the wall.
Ooh, hurt me. Yeah, right. I'd probably cut off my own head with the thing.
Flickering candles lend an appropriately spooky atmosphere to the museum.
He's got more hair than Mosley.
On the table is a small coffin. So small, in fact, that it would only fit an infant.
Charming. I'm close enough to using a coffin as it is. Forget it. Known my luck lately to talk back. This coffin is so small. Interesting.
Cute, isn't it?
Adorable. Do you know anything about it?
Afraid not.
The little coffin is empty. There's a beaten-up old fan in the window. It's silent at the moment. The fan might operate, but not that way. The fan is entrenched in the window frame. An authentic-looking pole marks the center of the room. Authentic what? Gabriel isn't sure. The pole is solidly connected to the floor.
I don't think the pole opens.
Gabriel doesn't recognize the museum's flags. An official voodoo wish and stump. Rub it and make a wish, a card said.
Funny, I say the same thing to women. I wish my voodoo book hits the bestseller lists. I wish my publisher would actually promote one of my novels for a change.
The wishing stump doesn't open. Large, elaborate drums occupy a corner of the museum.
Please don't touch those drums, mister.
A beaded gourd is on display. A wooden doll with horns is on the back table.
Looks like Jack Nicholson.
Something about the shape of that knife gives Gabriel the creeps. Gabriel doesn't want anything to do with that knife. The back wall displays various voodoo items, such as a poster advertising a voodoo tour of the city, winters only. A bandana that was once worn by a voodoo queen.
Nice bloodstains.
An anatomically correct voodoo doll with pins strategically placed.
Now why does that remind me of Grace?
A feathered African mask. A gaudy shell necklace. A striking portrait of a turbaned woman is on the back wall. Gabriel wonders who she might be. A very large, very formidable-looking snake is secured in a plexiglass cage. The snake is too far away. The snake doesn't look up for conversation.
That snake.
Is locked up for a reason. Even I wouldn't touch it. Don't go near that snake. It's not a pet.
Really? And it looks so friendly, too.
A counter at the back displays brochures and a donation basket. It's a basket for donation to the Free Museum. Unless Gabriel has something to contribute, he should leave the donation basket alone.
I don't need money that badly. Besides, it's empty.
She looks thrilled to be here.
I could, but I don't like to throw my skill around aimlessly. So, how's the museum business?
I don't know. I don't normally work here.
I don't even want to think about what that means. Could I ask you a few questions?
I wouldn't be much help. You should talk to Dr. John, the owner. He'll be back tomorrow.
I see. Thank you. Do you know anything about this?
Nope.
It's an electrical switch.
What does this switch do?
Hey, turn that off.
I didn't mean it.
Dr. John told me never turn on that fan.
I can see why.
Gabriel has no interest in the noisy fan at the moment. It's the exit to Ursula Street.
I'll be gone now, thanks.
So long.